What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about how there's different types of intelligence out there. Obviously, you have those big categories like musical intelligence and book smarts, and then so forth, art smarts, you could say, intelligence with art, and these are very easily extrapolated because there are prodigies that epitomize these different factions. So you got Mozart, who since he was little, and because his dad just introduced him at the right time, in the right way, he just blew up in music to the point where he loved it so much he partook in it even if no one else wanted him to, and that's where he came to be. And same thing with book smarts. Um, you have Albert Einstein and many other very intelligent mathematicians. I mean, every generation, the amount of smart people is getting more and more. One could reason that it's being naturally selected for. And it's crazy. Most people don't notice it, but like if you look for like specific stats on Google or any web search engine, you will find like basically these like competitions, these math competitions, or math associations or math events. And I remember being shown like one of the stats back when I was in high school, roughly 4 years ago from now, by my friend, and he was showing me this, and he was like saying like how there was uh, people in middle school and in high school getting into this like ridiculously smart like math association that required like um, intelligence to the level of a prodigy. And there's this whole list of people getting in that were in high school and middle school, and then like we found one person who was like the youngest, and he was like he didn't even start middle school, he was in elementary school, and we were like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, how smart are these guys? And he pretty much told me, that freshman who's in your calc class, I was taking the highest level of math offered at our school as a senior. There was actually a freshman taking the class because apparently he was so smart, and for whatever reason um, he took tutoring after middle school so that he could jump a few levels in math. And I thought this guy was smart, but apparently, according to my friend, he's like, that guy would not even compare to any of these people in this association. Um, and it goes on like that. But I want to talk about street smarts. And there's like this I guess psychologist, you could call it. I don't know his name, but I learned about him in like high school, and he said like he claimed that he categorized all different levels of possible intelligence into like 8 or 9 categories, and some of those categories were kind of weird. But I feel like there may be more, there may be less, and some of them sort of like converge and overlap. But this is my long ass intro to the point of my video, which is I want to focus on street smarts and book smarts because these are two factions that are very clear and easy to identify with. Um, and a lot of people don't realize how important street smarts is as well. So book smarts is very simple. There's a lot of different subdivisions. Like you could be really, really good at math but suck at physics, which usually doesn't happen. Like most likely you'll be decent at physics if you're really good at math. So they kind of converge, but you get the point. Like there's like different levels. You could be like a really, really good at organic chemistry or some division of physiology and so forth, and that would be considered book smarts or book intelligence. And that is definitely a mix of hard work, dedication, interest in the subject, availability of resources, um, and your natural talent for the subject. And I've seen all these play a huge factor to me and others. So I've seen people like uh, like for me at least, I sometimes did not enjoy the subject a lot, but I still pushed myself, and I hated it a lot, but I still like grinded through hours worth of studying every day, even though I did not like it and it was boring. And a lot of people couldn't do that, so that could just be another form of some other factor, maybe strong will or whatever. But that's a factor against me in another way, because if like I like to think, like I like to give the example of any prodigy, whether it's Warren Buffett in stock market investing, or Mozart with the piano, or Albert Einstein. All these people love their craft so much since an early age. And there's a lot of prodigies today that you can find on YouTube, and these people are just like, they are not even noticed anymore because they pale in comparison, but they're still prodigies. I mean, they're like 12 years old, and they're like ridiculous on the piano and so forth. But all these people, they were so in love with their art. They loved it. They wanted to do it regardless of whether it made them successful or whatever. Um, Warren Buffett is a great example. He says he's not like any more intelligent than anyone else, but one thing is clear. He loved what he did. He has mentioned multiple times that, even if he was paid in seashells, he would still be doing what he did. And he got into it really early on. He apparently read all the books in his local library on the subject after the age of like 15 or whatever, back when he was a kid. And so you get the point. Then we move on to street smarts, which in a lot of ways can be very useful. And a lot of people think you don't need, or they're not really aware of it. Um, and this, I mean, this is more intangible and hard to define, but it can apply to a lot of areas, um, like selling stuff on the street, or being able to talk to people and get them to like you, or being able to negotiate a deal, or just having that sort of drive and passion, and expressing your point clearly across to people who are listening, and so forth. It's kind of intangible. I guess one clear example would probably be in like class for me, when the class is over and I'm like, I'm going to talk to the teacher right now, figure out exactly what I need to do, get this homework in, ask this question because I didn't understand this point, and figure out if I can talk to this teacher to convince her to maybe slide those few points I lost on that test because I was technically right, and so forth. Whereas a lot of people sort of go through life like zombie, like they're like retarded, and then no offense to them, but like they don't even bother to try. When you talk to them, they're very neutral, no passion, and so forth. It's still very intangible and not easy to define. Um, and there's like theories that like you need both in order to succeed, whereas those who think they don't need book intelligence, or I mean not book intelligence, street intelligence, street smarts, they end up failing. Or if you have street intelligence but you don't have the actual knowledge on the subject, it's kind of different and it doesn't work. I don't know if it's true, but it's something to think about. I think like, quite honestly, like um, I feel like if you have the passion and you know what's going on, like there's no reason like you can't get more of the other. Um, I find that the rare people who get through it, they realize that it's not like a matter of you're not smart enough, um, because a lot of times it's not a matter of like, oh, I can't retain this information, or I don't have that information. Like, it's probably available to you and you could probably attain it, but a lot of times it requires just a lot of grinding and work, which people don't do. And it's one of the misconceptions with some, not all Asians, whereas everyone thinks like, oh, they're so smart naturally, and it's like, no. If you see these guys every night after you come home from school, what are they doing? What is their culture like? It's such a big thing now that it's almost mocked in American cinema and TV shows. It's like, you get the point. Like, their culture is like, their parents sort of push that out, and it's like they work for it even if they don't enjoy it that much. So you get the point. Um, there's no reason you can't attain at least a certain level of um, actual intelligence. On the other hand, there's always things that limit you. For me, I mean, I know for sure, like, a lot of things I am just not that great at. Um, I mean, I'm not bad at it, but um, talent definitely plays a certain part in it. For things like singing, for sure, and even for things like book smarts, there's definitely a level. It's not as big a gap. It's not like if you're not talented at it, you can't do it. But like there are people out there who can just like breeze through like a thick physics book this big, who's like half your age, and just understand it immediately. And that's just because they're biologically like geniuses uh, and prodigies at the subject. But that's not to say like you need that level of success to succeed. And this all comes together because um, it is ridiculous how many people who are not that smart, but have a lot of street smarts, who are millionaires, um, and most of it comes through businessmen. Um, if you own a business or you start a business, like there's a lot of examples of people who are of average intelligence, not even that smart, but they understand what they're doing. They understand whatever they don't know, and they are rich because of it. And there's a lot of rich. Excuse me. Let me take that back. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say poor people, but middle class people who are geniuses in one way or the other. There's like a few examples, but one comes to mind. There's this one genius who's like a mathematical god, um, in a way, and he's still alive now. But I guess his parents pushed him to like get a PhD, and that route led him to like a research thing at a very prominent school, and he was pushed to graduate high school early and so forth. This guy's Asian, um, and he was like a ridiculous mathematical genius. Like he had performed mathematical feats that were infeasible at very young ages, and this guy is now like researching at as a PhD, and now he's like an adult, like 28 or something. I don't know, 30, and it's like he's not making that much. So if you're looking for money, which if you are like that may not attain, that may not in any way relate to happiness. So keep that in mind. But if you are like, don't bank on the fact that just intelligence will get you there. Uh, and by intelligence, I mean like educational, uh, book intelligence, without street smarts, which I believe is the ability that with a lot of grinding you can attain if you don't have it. Granted, there are people who have a natural proclivity, who are just, they just have more of it naturally to begin with. So that's roughly all I want to say, and I want to end with this. There's a lot of business terms and investing terms and economics terms that I think would all fall under business terms. That it's funny because like it's just a fancy way of explaining something else, And I've gotten a lot into just reading up on these business terms like arbitrage and macroeconomic model of supply and demand, or short run aggregate supply, short run aggregate demand, and so forth. Um, and some of these terms, I understand why they're named how they are, but it's funny because if I were to be talking to someone who was street smart but did not know what any of these terms meant, I could probably explain it in a much better way with my street smarts, which are like decent. I don't think I'm like a huge, amazing street smart person. I think I'm better than the average. But like for instance, arbitrage. If you went onto Google, you get all these eloquent definitions of the term arbitrage. And if I talk to someone with street smarts who didn't know what that meant, I just tell them something very like just casually, like screw all that eloquent language online. All it freaking means is basically you take one good that's selling for a lot or little, you buy it, and then you sell that same good in another location, probably another country, for a much higher price. Why is there such a disparity in price? Because it happens. So, in even more street terms, buy this thing here and then sell it somewhere far away for a lot more and profit on that strange difference in price. Okay, let me see if I can get even more. I mean, that's as street as I can get. I mean, technically I can add slang and stuff, but you don't really need to. That doesn't mean it's more street smart. Um, but let me know if this made sense. And I'm not an expert on it. I'm just giving you my opinion. If any of you have any comments on the subject where you'd like to add something, and you think you really know what you're talking about, that then you can add on it. I'm definitely not expert, but I wanted to give my opinion on the subject, and possibly learn more about it. So if you guys know what you're talking about, and you have like sources or like a good block of information on this sort of stuff, then feel free to leave a discussion in the comments below. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.